She only appears when you can't sleep. No one knows where she comes from, or why she chooses certain nights and not others. All they know is that if your eyes refuse to close, if your thoughts keep circling like quiet storms, if the silence feels too loud and your heart too awake, then maybe, just maybe, she will come. It started with him, the kind of person who looked normal during the day, smiled when needed, spoke when spoken to, lived like everyone else. But nights, longer than they should, thoughts grew heavier than they needed to be, and sleep felt like something distant, something that belonged to other people. He would lie in bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows slowly move across the walls, listening to the ticking of time that refused to slow down, no matter how tired he felt. He tried everything: soft music, counting breaths, closing his eyes again and again, but nothing worked. The moment he almost drifted away, something inside him would pull him back like an invisible thread, keeping him awakened. So he stayed there, night after night, awakened alone, until one night, something changed. It was quiet, even quieter than usual. The kind of silence that feels different, like the world itself is holding its breath. He turned to his side, closing his eyes once more. Not expecting anything, not hoping for anything, just tired of trying. Then he felt a presence, not heavy, not frightening, just there, like someone standing nearby without making a sound. His eyes opened slowly, and for a moment he thought he was dreaming. Standing near the corner of his room was a glowing light surrounded her, not bright enough to hurt his eyes, but enough to make the darkness step back. She looked calm, almost unreal, like she didn't belong to the same world as him. He didn't move, didn't speak. He simply stared, unsure if this was another trick of his tired mind. She didn't say anything at first. She just looked at him with a quiet understanding, as if she had seen this moment many times before, and then she took a small step closer. "Yuri still awake?" she said softly, her voice barely louder than a whisper. Yet it filled the room in a way silence never could. He tried to respond, but the words stayed stuck somewhere between fear and disbelief. "Who are you?" he finally managed to say, his voice dry from the long night. She tilted her head slightly, as if the question itself didn't need a simple answer. "I only come when sleep dosante," she replied. Gently, the words felt strange yet comforting, like they carried a meaning he couldn't fully understand, but somehow trusted. He sat up slowly, his eyes never leaving her, afraid that if he blinked, she would disappear. "Are you real?" he asked. She smiled softly, not denying it, not confirming it, just letting the question exist. "Does it matter?" she said. He didn't know how to answer that, because in that moment, real or not, she was the only thing that didn't feel distant. She moved closer until she stood beside his bed, her presence calm, steady, like a quiet rhythm that matched something deep inside him. "Why can't I sleep?" he asked, his voice softer. "No, not desperate, just tired." She looked at him for a long moment, and then said, "Because your mind is still holding on to things. Your heart is trying to release." The words settled into the room slowly, like they were meant to stay. Looked down at his hands, thinking about all the thoughts that kept him awake, all the things he replayed over and over, the things he never said, the fears he never faced. "I don't know how to let go," he whispered. She gently sat beside him, not too close, not too far, just enough for him to feel that he wasn't alone. You don't force it, she said. You allow it. Closed his eyes for a second, trying to understand, but the same noise began to return, the same restless thoughts, the same tension in his chest. The ate right, he said quietly. She leaned slightly closer, her voice softer than before. You tried to escape them, not release them. He opened his eyes again, looking at her confused. What does that mean? Means you fight your thoughts instead of listening to them, she said calmly, and the more you fight, the louder they become. The room felt different now, not just quiet, but aware, like every word she spoke was changing something invisible. So, what do I do? He asked. She raised her hand slowly and placed it gently over his chest, right where his heartbeat rested. Fee, she whispered. At first, he didn't understand, but then he noticed it, his breath, his heartbeat, the tension sitting inside him. To run from it, she said. Don't silence it, just let it be. There he took a slow breath, unsure, but willing. Exhale. Her presence didn't fade. Her hand didn't move. She simply stayed, guiding without forcing. Again she whispered, and again he breathed. The noise in his mind didn't disappear, but it softened, like it was no longer fighting to be her. Thoughts surfaced, feelings he had pushed away for so long, but this time he didn't resist them. He just let them pass. Stares gathered in his eyes, not from sadness, but from release, like something heavy was finally leaving him. That's it, she said softly. For the first time in so long, his body didn't feel tense, his mind didn't feel trapped. Everything inside him began to loosen, and then something happened, something he hadn't felt in what seemed like forever. Gentle pull. Sleep. It didn't come suddenly, it didn't take over, it simply arrived quietly, like it had been waiting for this exact moment. His eyes grew heavier, his breathing slower, his thoughts softer. He looked at her one last time. Will you come back? He asked. She smiled again, that same calm, knowing smile. Lonely if you forget how to let go. His eyes closed slowly, not forced, not struggling, just natural. And as he drifted away, he felt something he had been missing for so long. Peaced. When morning came, the room looked the same, the light entering through the window, the quiet stillness of a new day. But something inside him had changed. The weight was gone, the noise was gone, the endless waiting had ended. Sat up slowly, remembering the night, wondering if it had all been a dream, but deep inside he knew she only appears when you can't sleep. And now he finally could. Days passed and nights came again, as they always do, but something about them felt softer, now less heavy. First few nights after that, he almost expected her to return. He would lie down close, his eyes, and wait just a little, wondering if that quiet glow would appear again in the corner of his room. But she didn't come. And slowly he understood why, because he didn't need her to. Thoughts still visited him sometimes, like distant echoes of old habits, moments from the past, small worries about the future, but they no longer stayed the same way now. When they came, he didn't fight them, he didn't try to silence them. He simply let them be there and then let them go. And every time he did that, sleep followed gently, not as something he chased, but as something that naturally arrived. It became a quiet understanding between him and the night. But one evening something felt different. Again, not heavy, not overwhelming, just unfamiliar. The day had been long, his mind a little more restless than usual, small things stacking up quietly inside him, things he didn't even realize were affecting him that night. As he lay in bed, he felt it return in, that old tension, that slight pressure in his chest, that whisper of unease. Took a breath slowly, remembering what she had taught him: field and fightlet. It passed for a while, it worked. His breathing steadied, his thoughts soft, but then suddenly stronger than before, a wave of thoughts rushed in, memories, questions, doubts, things he thought he had already let go of. His eyes opened again, staring at the ceiling, and for the first time since that night, sleep didn't come. The room felt quiet again, but not in the same comforting way. This time, it felt like it was waiting. He sat up slightly, looking toward the corner where she had once stood. Nothing's shadows. A small part of him wondered if he had imagined everything, if that night had only been a dream created by a tired mind. Searching for peace, he lay back down, closing his eyes once more, trying to breathe through it, trying to trust the process. But something inside him felt different. This time, not fear, not panic, just uncertainty. Minutes passed, maybe longer, and then very softly that same presence suddenly, not dramatically, just gently, like it had never really left. He opened his eyes slowly, and there she was again, standing in the same place, her soft glow pushing back the darkness, her expression calm as always. Sue remembered. She said quietly, let out a slow breath, something between relief and surprise. Tried, he replied. Softly she stepped closer, her presence just as steady as before. Trying is not the same as trusting, she said. He looked at her, confused but listening. You remembered the steps, she continued, but you forgot the feeling. He thought about it for a moment, realizing what she meant. He had followed the process, but his mind was still searching for control, still waiting for sleep. Instead of allowing it, he was afraid it wouldn't work this time. He nodded gently, and that fear is what kept you awake. Words felt simple but true. She sat beside him again, her presence grounding him. Without doesn't leave you, she said softly. You leave it when you begin to doubt. He closed his eyes again, this time not forcing, not expecting, just being there in the moment. Her hand rested lightly over his chest. Once more, feel, she whispered. He breathed in slowly, feeling the tension. Breathed out, letting it go. Again, thoughts came, but softer now, like they were no longer trying to take control. He let them pass, didn't chase them, didn't hold them, just let them be. And slowly that same gentle pull returned, the calm, the quiet, the release. Before he drifted away, he spoke one last time, his voice barely there. Will there be a time when I won't need you at all? There was a small pause, and then her voice came softer than ever. That time has already begun, and with that he let go completely, not just of the thoughts, not just of the fear, but of the need to hold on. And once again sleep found him. And after that night, something within him settled in a way it never had before, not temporarily, not just for a few days, but deeply, as if a part of him had finally learned what it needed to know. The nights continued as they always do, but they no longer felt like something to survive. They became something to enter quietly, without resistance, without fear. He no longer waited for sleep. He welcomed it. Were still thoughts, sometimes soft ones, distant ones, but they no longer controlled the rhythm of his night. They came and went, like passing clouds leaving the sky clear again. And as time moved forward, something else began to change. His days started noticing how calm he felt, even when things didn't go perfectly, how his mind didn't rush to overthink every situation. How his body didn't carry that constant hidden tension anymore. It was as if the peace he found at night had slowly followed him into the daylight. People around him began to notice it, to the way he spoke slower, the way he listened more, the way he no longer reacted to everything around him. Some asked him what changed. He never gave them a long answer. He would just smile softly and say, "I learned how to let go." But what he never explained was how deep that truth really was. Because letting go was not just about sleep, it was about everything. Letting go of control, letting go of fear, letting go of the constant need to understand and fix everything. In that release he found something rare. Balance. Weeks passed, and the memory of her presence slowly became softer, not forgotten, but no longer something he waited for. He understood now that she was never meant to stay. She was never meant to be part of his life forever. She was a moment, a guide, a quiet reminder that came only when needed. One night, as he lay in bed completely at ease, his breathing slow, his mind calm, he looked toward the corner of his room. Out of habit, there was no glow, no figure, no presence, just stillness. And this time he didn't feel the need for anything more big. The calm she brought was no longer outside him, it was within him. He closed his eyes gently, and without effort his body relaxed, his thoughts softened, and his awareness slowly drifted. Just before sleep took in fully, a final understanding passed through his mind like a quiet whisper. She was never the reason he could sleep. She was the reason he remembered how. And as the night wrapped around him once more, soft and endless, he didn't search, he didn't wait, didn't he wonder, he simply rested. In that rest there was no distance between him and peace anymore, because now he carried it with him. And as the night grew deeper and quieter than ever before, there was nothing left for him to figure out, nothing left to fix, nothing left to chase. He lay there still and calm, his breathing slow, his mind empty, in the most peaceful way. The same room, the same walls, the same silence, but a completely different feeling, because now the silence no longer asked questions, it gave answers. He didn't look toward the corner anymore. He didn't wait for a glow. He didn't hope for a return, not because she didn't matter, but because what she gave him had stayed, something stronger than her presence, something permanent, understanding. He closed his eyes gently, and this time there was no hesitation, no resistance, no fear hiding beneath the circum, only stillness, only trust. And in that moment he realized something final, something so simple yet so powerful. She never came to stay, she came to leave peace behind, the kind of peace that doesn't disappear when the night ends, kind that stays even when you are alone, the kind that quietly reminds you are safe, you are allowed to restand, you don't need to hold on anymore. As his thoughts faded completely and his body sank deeper into the bed, sleep didn't arrive like something new. It felt like returning home, and somewhere in the quiet, endless space between dreams and reality, where everything becomes soft and weightless, a faint glow appear for just a second, not to guide, not to teach, just to watch, and then it was gone, because she only appears when you can't sleep. And now he never needed her again. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of your night. May you find deep peace and restful sleep. Wishing you the sweetest dreams. If you liked it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.